Okay, so you want to crack the condo code, huh? Everyone seems to have an opinion about condos right now. Some say they're about to take off, others say watch out.
It's true. The market's sending mixed signals, which always makes it interesting.
To say the least. We've been digging through articles, reports, even some stuff about divorce to try and get a handle on this. So are we looking at a condo boom or a condo bust?
Well, it really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? I think
Yeah.
the first thing we have to acknowledge is there are definitely signs pointing to a surge.
Like what? What's making people think condos are about to be the next big thing?
A lot of it has to do with the state of the rental market. We've got these reports from places like rentals.ca, Urbanation rents are still going up. Not as fast maybe, but they're climbing.
Yeah, and that's even with the government trying to encourage people to create more rental units. You know, that whole program about converting basements and garages.
Right, right. Which in a way kind of proves your point. The government's stepping in because they know there's a problem. There's just not enough places for people to rent.
Okay, so big demand for rentals, but what does that have to do with condos specifically?
Well, think about it. When renting gets too expensive, people start to think, hey, maybe it's time to buy. And for a lot of people, especially first-time buyers, condos are that entry point.
So higher rents push more people towards buying, which could then push up condo prices.
Exactly. It's basic supply and demand.
Hmm.
And on top of that, you've got interest rates dropping, which is like music to the ears of anyone looking to buy.
Because lower rates mean lower mortgage payments?
Exactly. It makes that monthly payment a little easier to swallow, so suddenly buying seems more attainable.
Okay, so we've got high rental demand, we've got lower interest rates, but we also found reports about a potential seller demand rebound. What does that even mean?
Basically, it means that sellers who might have been sitting on the sidelines waiting for the market to improve are starting to think now's the time to list their properties.
Why? What's changed their minds?
A couple of things. First, that anticipation of future interest rate cuts. If rates go down even further, they're figuring more buyers will flood the market.
So if they can sell before that happens, they're hoping to get a better price.
Exactly. Plus, there's this sense that the market might be stabilizing after all the craziness of the past few years. So for sellers who've been hesitant, this feels like a good moment to test the waters.
Okay, so we've got buyers potentially more eager because of lower rates and sellers hoping to cash in before things change again. Sounds like a recipe for a pretty competitive market.
It could be, especially in certain markets. We're seeing this play out in Calgary, for example. A lot of people moving there, job opportunities, more affordable than some of the bigger cities.
Right, and Calgary was highlighted in those Remax reports we have. They're saying migration is a big factor in their condo market right now. More people, same amount of condos.
Prices go up. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more people hear about a hot market, the more they want in on the action.
Which then makes it even hotter.
Exactly. It's like a snowball effect. And this isn't just speculation, by the way. We've got actual numbers to back this up. That article from Insaga about rent growth in Mississauga.
Yeah, wasn't that supposed to be good news? Like, rent increases were slowing down?
They are. But here's the catch. Even with the slowdown, residents are still paying significantly more than they were just 4 years ago.
So it's like taking a break halfway up a mountain. You're still exhausted even if you stopped climbing for a minute.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this whole condo conundrum so fascinating and potentially risky. Because how do you tell if this is a real trend or just a temporary blip?
Well, that's what we're here to figure out. So we've got some clues that condos might be headed for a boom. But I have a feeling there's another side to this story. You're right, there's always another side to the story, especially in real estate. So what are we missing? What could throw a wrench in this whole condo boom scenario?
Well, one word. Investors.
Investors. Okay, they've been a big part of the condo market for a while now. How do they change things?
Imagine this. You've got a plate of cookies. Everyone wants a cookie. But then someone comes along and buys up half the plate.
Fewer cookies for everyone else.
Exactly. And that's what can happen when investors get involved in a big way. They buy up properties, sometimes even before they're built, which can shrink the pool of available condos for regular buyers.
And when there's less supply but still high demand.
Prices go up, even if the underlying fundamentals of the market aren't that strong.
So are you saying this potential condo boom could just be a bubble fueled by investors?
Not necessarily a bubble, but it's something to be aware of. Investor activity can create artificial demand, which can skew prices.
Yeah.
If investors suddenly pull back,
Prices could drop, leaving regular buyers who bought at the peak in a tough spot.
it's a risk, absolutely. And that's why it's so important to look beyond the headlines. Don't just jump into the market because everyone else is.
So what should people be looking at instead? If someone's thinking, hey, maybe I should buy a condo, what factors should they be considering?
Well, first and foremost, their own financial situation. Can they comfortably afford the mortgage payments, even if interest rates go up? Do they have a stable income?
It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of buying, but those mortgage payments are real.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And beyond that, think about your lifestyle. Do you need to be in a condo? Or would a different type of property be a better fit? How long do you plan on living there?
Because buying isn't always the answer.
Exactly. Sometimes renting makes more sense, especially if you're not sure where you see yourself in a few years.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential risks of investor activity, the importance of personal finances and lifestyle choices. Anything else people should keep in mind?
Well, we can't forget about those regional differences. Just because the market is behaving a certain way in one city doesn't mean it's the same everywhere.
Right. Like Vancouver, it's always a world of its own. We found articles saying it's still one of the most expensive rental markets in the country.
And it's likely to stay that way. Limited supply, high demand. It's a recipe for.
Expensive housing, whether you're renting or buying.
Exactly. And then you've got Calgary on the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Experiencing that influx of people, job opportunities, more affordable.
But even there, it's not all sunshine and roses, right? We saw reports of declining average rents, but then other data showing a long-term upward trend. What's someone supposed to make of that?
Well, it's a classic case of don't believe everything you read.
Yeah.
You have to look at the bigger picture.
So a dip in average rent doesn't necessarily mean Calgary's suddenly become affordable?
Exactly. It could just be a temporary blip. Maybe some new rental buildings came online, increasing supply for a short period, or maybe it's a seasonal thing.
So you really have to dig deeper, look at the historical data, understand the local factors.
Precisely. And that goes for any market, not just Calgary. Don't just follow the headlines. Do your research.
Sound advice. So we've talked about investors, regional differences, the importance of personal finances, but there's one more piece of this puzzle I want to get to, something that might seem a little unexpected.
No, I'm intrigued. What is it?
Well, it all started with those articles about divorce and real estate. Okay, so you're probably thinking, divorce, what does that have to do with condos? And it's a fair question.
Yeah, it does seem a little out of left field.
Right. But hear me out. When you think about it, divorce kind of throws a spotlight on all the things we've been talking about. Finances, housing market, decision-making. It's all there, just magnified.
Okay, I'm starting to see where you're going with this.
Exactly. So let's say you're a couple going through a divorce and you own a condo together. What are your options?
Well, the most common ones are selling the property and splitting the proceeds, or one spouse buying out the other's share.
And those decisions are happening right now in this market. And what we learned from those divorce articles is that selling a home during a divorce is tougher than it used to be.
Absolutely. We're not in a strong seller's market anymore. It's more balanced, which means longer selling times. Maybe not getting the price you hoped for.
Which, let's be honest, adds another layer of stress to an already stressful situation.
For sure. And it highlights the importance of having all the information, understanding the market, and being realistic about your options.
And that's true whether you're going through a divorce or not. It's about making smart decisions, knowing what you can afford, and not letting emotions cloud your judgment.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So, to bring it all home, what are the key takeaways you want our listeners to walk away with from our condo deep dive?
Well, first and foremost, knowledge is power. Don't just listen to what other people are saying or rely on gut feelings. Do your research, look at the data, talk to experts.
Exactly. Understand the factors at play, interest rates, investor activity, regional differences, and be realistic about your own situation. What are your financial goals, your risk tolerance, your lifestyle needs?
Right, because there's no magic answer, no one-size-fits-all approach. What works for one person might not work for another.
And don't be afraid to ask questions. If something doesn't make sense, dig deeper. Challenge assumptions.
Exactly. And on that note, if someone is considering buying a condo in Canada right now, what's the one piece of advice you would give them?
Talk to a financial advisor. Seriously, they can help you assess your situation, understand your options, and make a plan that aligns with your goals.
It's like having a guide in the sometimes confusing world of real estate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And who doesn't want a little guidance when the stakes are this high?
Well said. So that's it for our condo deep dive. Be sure to check out the show notes for links to all the resources we talked about today.
It was a pleasure chatting with you.
Always a pleasure. And until next time, happy condo hunting.